Akron, and Holt, Michigan, which is the suburb of Lansing. So oculars are kind of few and far between. The big reason is supply and demand. So there's not a great deal of demand for our services. So we take our services to the people. This program will kind of give you a little bit of idea of what visit to our office is all about. Some folks might know it's gone already, and if so, kind of gives an overview. I don't have any financial issues other than it is my occupation for the last 40 years. Kind of give you a quick brief on history. It goes back to 28 BCE. It's their term BCE. The BCE is before Common Era. So that took me a little bit of time to figure out what the before Common Era was. So the earliest known evidence was a woman in Iran about 29 to 2800 BCE. And it was believed that it was a hemisphere shape, about an inch, construction of lightweight material, probably in those days, maybe a shell, and then with a string wrapped around. So it was an outward appliance as compared to what we know today. The early ones, again, were either held on with strings, ropes, ribbons, even a temple piece that almost looked like an eyeglass temple would go behind the ear, and that's what held it on. So it was not internal like we know prosthetic eyes today. Hebrew text tells us about a woman, and again, it always seems to be a woman. So that's group that we're working with today. I don't know if guys were more, I'm okay with the patch, or if it was simply that the women had to be pretty and had to have the prosthetic eye. But the early ones were made of gold, and the first ocular prosthetic that was actually implanted was enamel and gold as well. So, and then we come up to glass eyes, and that's what a lot of folks refer to our profession as, oh, they've got a glass eye. Well, it's not really a glass eye. Glass eyes were hollow like a light bulb, so if you dropped it, it would break. It wasn't solid like a paperweight. And glass eyes were really popular before World War II, but most of the glass was German, and so most of the ocularis were German. And after World War II, they went back to their homeland, and so it kind of left us without ocularis. So that's when Army technicians decided to develop the plastic eye, and that's what we use today as acrylic or plastic. The formal training to get to where I'm at, and again, I always wondered why they say a doctor's practicing medicine. Well, even like ocularis, as soon as you think you know it all, you don't. Something else comes along in a new case or a new person, something else. But it is a formal, they call it internship now. When I went through it, it was an apprenticeship. It was a 10,000-hour program. I wasn't really great with math. I thought, oh, 10,000 hours is quick. But based on a 2,000-hour work year, and so it's basically a 5-year program to go through. And primarily that's through the American Society of Ocularis. They're the ones doing the internship. Well, the candidates are interning with the board certified ocularis, but the formal training is actually through the American Society of Ocularis. They also provide the continuing education. Some states do require licensing as well. One happens to be Washington. So I do have a Washington license as well. And then once you go through all that training, the board certification is the next step, and that's a national board, which again, when I took it, it was a 4-part test. So it's a little bit more of a challenge. I think they've reduced it down to a 3-part test now. So it's a little bit easier, but again, it's still wants to make sure that you know your stuff. So there's millions of patients, all different ages, all different reasons, and thousands of candidates as well. So it really doesn't know people live on the streets, and I've had some really probably important people in the office that have more money than any of us will ever see in our lifetime. Currently, we've got about 6,400 patients on file, and so we just did kind of a quick internal shape or test on that. What we found was about 49% of the people that we work with, it's a right eye that's missing. So we kind of found that to be interesting. A little bit less on left eyes, it was only 47%. And then you're probably saying, well, 49, 47 doesn't add up to 100%. Well, guess what? Some people have both. And that's unilateral. So we call it right and left. And about 2.5% of our patients are unilateral as well. The bigger cities, it really works nice when somebody's completely blind because bus rides, we have some of our folks at the Columbus office especially show up at the door completely unaided. And that is nice independence. Our youngest one is about 3 days old, and our oldest is about 105 years old. 3 days old is a little bit too young. We had an office at medical college in those days, and they brought the baby in and said, "Oh, you got to do something." Baby is born without an eye, and I say usually wait until about 6 to 8 weeks old before I start to work with them. But again, at the opposite end, 105 years old, and the youngest one's a little girl, and the oldest is a man. So we see kids at all different ages, all different reasons. It doesn't really know any social or economic borders or barriers. Again, we've had people that live on the streets and have no address, and I've had United Arab Emirates folks come in as well. So they've got, again, more money than I think that we're probably ever gonna see. Fabrication equipment's a little bit different. Ocularis. Many times we do take an impression of the orbit just to find out what's going on. So if you've ever had any dental work done, caps, crowns, bridges, things of that nature, kind of what we're all about. But we actually work directly with the eye. So up on the right-hand side is the impression tray, and then just some of the polishing and the buffing that we do as well. We do iris duplication, usually by hand, by painting. There are some digital irises out now. It sounds impressive, but a digital iris is basically just pre-printed irises. So I could say, oh, well, you got blue eyes. Well, this one's pretty close. And then we could go from there. So there's, again, ocularis to ocularis, that's all different methods. This is a little video. It's going to kind of show you what the patient expects when they come into the office. Again, it's a little bit different, and it's definitely a dated video. You'll probably see by the computers and things of that nature. Oops, is there volume?
Should be on the laptop there.
There we go.
I came out with this great eye and it's easy to use, great to put in, take out. And it looks just the way my eye did before I lost it.
And, being involved in a lot of things, I think people just accepted me for the way I was. And a lot of people didn't even know I had an artificial eye.
Annie looked at herself in the mirror and just was overcome with joy. It was just a wonderful moment as a parent to experience that.
This video was produced to help people who are in the process of receiving an artificial eye or ocular prosthetic. It is important for you to understand the procedures involved, as well as what to expect over the next few weeks. Initially, you may be feeling a little anxious about the process of receiving an artificial eye. It is beneficial to note that in the United States alone, thousands of people received artificial eyes in just the last year. That includes doctors, lawyers, teachers, athletes, all ages of people in all walks of life. In the vast majority of these cases, the patients continued their lives and careers without skipping a beat. These people were feeling much as you do right now, and yet their lives have changed remarkably little since receiving their new eye.
With my type of business and being the owner here, I'm involved in all aspects. And so like we do a lot of our own remodeling, things like that. I work with power tools. I always wear safety glasses. Uh, my judgment as far as depth goes has been something that I think I've learned to use the devices that you see in everyday life. And so I really don't have a problem with depth perception. Hunting, for instance, I was right-handed. Now I have to shoot left-handed, although I'm not a hunter, but I like target shooting and things like that. Even bow hunting, I can do the opposite way and stuff like that.
Annie is 11 years old, almost soon to be 12. She is a very vivacious, outgoing, enchanting child. She's also very stubborn. She wants to do things her own way. Several years ago, when she first got this new prosthesis, was the center of her universe. Everything revolved around her appearance, how she looked, and how this eye changed her life and how she wanted to be. I can't think of anything that Annie doesn't do that any other child doesn't do. The eye is not an issue at all in terms of fit, in terms of it falling out, breaking, any discomforts. She can hang upside down on the jungle gym and it doesn't dislocate. There's very little care involved with it. At age 11, she's doing all the care of it herself.
When I first came to the office, I was a little bit afraid. I didn't know what the process involved, and I thought it was going to be very, very painful. After speaking with my ocularist, I was really at ease, and it seemed like a great procedure and was going to be just a very short process, and I would have had a beautiful eye. The impression portion of the visit was the part that I was very nervous about. I thought it was going to be very painful. I didn't understand what was involved, but once I sat in the chair and had the little thing put in, the whole process was very pain-free. Now that I've had it in, it's so comfortable, I don't even really notice it's there.
Before talking about the steps involved in receiving an artificial eye, keep in mind that there is a tremendous amount of variation from one patient to the next and from one ocularist to the next. Because of these differences, it is important to follow the instructions of your ocularist concerning your particular case. There are very few standard artificial eye fittings, but don't worry. Your ocularist has had years of training to ensure you the finest care possible. Your ophthalmologist will refer you to an ocularist about 4 to 8 weeks after the surgery. A written prescription for your artificial eye will be placed by the ophthalmologist, who will then work with the ocularist to clarify any special instructions concerning your case. It's a good idea to get a copy of the prescription for your own records or filing a claim with your insurance company. When you arrive at the ocularist's office, you will be asked to fill out some information form. Be sure to have your medical insurance card available, as well as the doctor's prescription we just discussed. Because all prosthetic work is done on a custom basis, it's important to clarify insurance or payment concerns before any work is started. Once the necessary paperwork is completed, the ocularist will want to review your medical history in detail, with emphasis on the circumstances leading to the removal of your eye. He or she will examine your socket for swelling and proper healing before the fitting begins. As you are establishing a good relationship, your ocularist will feel more comfortable with your case, and addressing your particular situation will begin to take shape. There are several methods and variations to the fitting process. Your ocularist will describe their specific method step by step. The most common way to fit an artificial eye is to take an impression. A soft liquid impression material is inserted into the socket or over the remaining globe. Within a few minutes, the impression material sets into a gel, which retains the exact size and shape of your socket. Taking an impression in this way usually takes less than 10 minutes. After the ocularist is satisfied with the impression, they will determine the proper pupil location for your artificial eye by matching it with your good eye. The next step is the coloring of the artificial eye. In order for your ocularist to best match your eye color, wear neutral tones such as beige or white. Bright primary colors reflect and bring out tones from your eye that are not always evident. The ocularist may also study your eyes at length in order to properly match the details and patterns of your iris. A pupil size is chosen that most closely matches your pupil size in normal light. The ocularist now combines the completed impression shape with the iris color create a custom acrylic eye. Further adjustments such as veins and tinting of the white portion of the eye will also be completed at this time. A final coat of acrylic will be applied last, giving the eye a smooth, glossy surface that adds lifelike depth to the overall look of the eye. The entire process takes several hours. It may take more than one visit, depending on your particular case. The ocularist has now completed the creation of your artificial eye. During the delivery, however, it is not uncommon for the ocularist to make some final adjustments to the eye, usually requiring no more than a day or two. Once you and your ocularist are happy with the fit and appearance of the eye, they will go over care of the eye. Most ocularists agree, the less you handle your eye, the less irritation and discharge you will experience. However, hygiene schedules differ from patient to patient. It is important to follow the instructions of your ocular with regard to cleaning your eye. Unless you are told otherwise, always use the suction device that your ocularist can provide. To remove an artificial eye, gently lift your upper lid to expose the iris of the eye. Squeeze the shaft or stem of the suction cup and firmly press the cup against the iris. Take care to assure even and full contact with the suction cup. It may be helpful to wet the end of the suction device to assist in attachment. Once you feel you have good contact, release your squeeze on the stem without losing contact with the surface of the eye. Next, release your upper lid and gently pull your lower lid down, exposing the rim of your artificial eye. Using the suction cup, gently tilt the eye up so as to lift the lower edge over the lower lid. Once the lower edge has cleared the lower lid, you should be able to slip the artificial eye out by drawing the artificial eye down and out over the lower lid. Once the artificial eye has been removed, flush your socket using the solution your ocularist recommends. We'll then clean the artificial eye. It is important to always use a mild cleaning solution on your artificial eye and never use a harsh chemical such as alcohol. Again, your ocularist will recommend a safe cleaning solution for you. Always rinse the surface of the artificial eye well and apply some form of lubricant before attempting to reinsert the eye. To reinsert, squeeze the stem of the suction cup and apply firm pressure over the iris portion of the artificial eye, making sure to get full contact. Then release your squeeze of the stem. Your suction cup should now be attached to the iris of your artificial eye. Identify between the top and bottom of the eye and gently lift your upper lid. Your socket should be exposed and the eye ready to be inserted. Slip the top portion of the artificial eye under the upper lid, moving in an upward motion until contact is made. Without moving the location of the artificial eye, release the upper lid and gently pull the lower lid down and out of the way. Now continue to push the eye back into place. Once you have placed the eye into its proper position, release the lower lid and squeeze the stem of the suction cup to the eye. You may find you will need a few drops of lubricant for comfort. Be sure to keep eyelids clear of any mucus. It is usually recommended that a lubricant or wetting solution be used at least twice daily to assist in comfort and general cosmetics of the artificial eye. Your ocularist will recommend a lubricant for you and instruct you on how often it should be used. It is recommended that you see your ocularist at least once a year for a routine polish and checkup. At this time, your eye will be polished to eliminate any buildup that may have accumulated on the eye, as well as any surface scratches. It is also a good time to discuss how the eye is fitting and any other concerns you may have. Let's not forget the care of your remaining eye. Always wear protective eyewear whenever possible. Your physician may even recommend non-prescriptive lenses to protect your remaining good eye. Let's review some commonly asked questions. Will my artificial eye fall out? Any artificial eye can fall out if not properly handled or cared for. Whenever wiping your lids or artificial eye, wipe in a horizontal but slightly upward direction, and always wipe towards the nose. Wiping in a downward and outward direction can cause the lower lid to be displaced and an edge of the artificial eye to slip out. Keeping the eye clean is very important. An artificial eye with surface debris will become sticky and may catch on the underside of the lids. This not only causes an irritation of the lid, but may also cause the eye to become displaced. Will my artificial eye move with my remaining good eye? You can expect movement in your artificial eye relative to how well your implant moves. Your implant has certain muscles attached to it that cause it to move. Movement of your eye will depend on the implant, muscle surrounding it, and the fit of the eye. Your surgeon has selected the implant that best fits your situation to give maximum movement to your artificial eye. Will my artificial eye break? Your artificial eye is made of durable acrylic. This is a big improvement over the old glass eyes, which would break if exposed to extreme temperature changes. However, care should always be taken when handling your acrylic eye to avoid scratching the surfaces or leaving irritating debris. How long will my eye last? Your ophthalmologist or ocularist will be the best person to advise you about when you need a new artificial eye. Generally speaking, you can expect your artificial eye to last 5 to 7 years. However, it may be longer or shorter depending on each individual situation. This schedule does not apply to children who may require more refittings due to natural growth changes. What about sports? You should be able to resume most sports activities. It is always wise to wear protective eyewear in any sport. Water sports are okay too, but it is advised that you wear some type of tight-fitting swimming goggles as an extra precaution. We hope this video has been helpful in answering your questions concerning your artificial eye. The most important thing we want you to remember is to ask your ocularist for help and information whenever you feel it necessary. With your ocularist's help, you can join the thousands of people that have artificial eyes and enjoy full and active lives.
Yes.
So a quick overview, we talked a little bit about history, how long the training and requirements of binoculars, the United States, how many people need a prosthetic, and sometimes people need one but don't realize they're a candidate because they think they have to go through enucleation or have the eye removed, and it's not true. Sometimes we fit directly over a damaged or disfigured globe. So if somebody has an eye they're not seeing out of, it becomes small, we can cap directly over top of it. So kind of think like a giant contact lens. It's not always surgically necessary to have the eye removed. And when I started, it was probably about 10% of our business. Now it's probably about 30 to 40%. Just because I think more physicians understand that it's not necessary to remove, and more people realize that it's not necessary to have the eye removed. Talked a little bit about fitting. Hopefully the video was a good, and the care procedures. The video kind of explains some of that as well. The insertion and removal, and basically that's it in a nutshell. So I'll entertain any questions if you want. Hopefully the video wasn't too gory for lunchtime.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it continuing education, some of the doctors bring in their slides and it's like, oh. So yeah, kind of interesting, but
How about mascara?
any type of makeup you could certainly use.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had some folks go with the permanent tattooing,
Oh,
the
okay.
eyeliner and things of that nature. And I've had some, mostly women, that will use like the eyeliner, and I don't quite understand it, but I guess it's waterproof. So it's more oily. And you can actually, when I take the prosthetic out, I can actually see it on the front side of the prosthetic.
Oh, wow.
That they've applied a little bit too deep. But anyways, other questions?
Is insurance usually covered?
The question is, does insurance usually cover? Many times it does. Medicare does help out, and we're a non-par supplier, so there is an out-of-pocket expense. If you have a traditional Medicare and a supplement, there is some out-of-pocket expense. If you have a supplement that is a plan F or plan G, then they pay what's called excess charges, and so there's very little cost, less than $20 out of pocket. But if a traditional Medicare plan, they're usually about $1,000 out of pocket. So kind of gives an idea. Same with healthcare. It's across the board. They don't care your politics on healthcare, but healthcare is not all equal. Even though you have healthcare, you might have a $5,000 deductible if you have a $200 deductible. You might not have any deductible. Yours might pay 80%. Yours might pay 50%, but it's usually of their allowable. So even though they're saying, oh, we're paying 100% of their allowable. So that's the question you need to ask sometimes. What is your allowable? What is the UCR? Most insurance companies won't release it to me, but might release it to you. That's an individual.
And I was asking because cosmetic surgery usually is effective and not covered. I mean, at least years ago, I haven't checked
Sure.
lately.
The question or comment is that cosmetic surgery is usually not covered. You're exactly correct. This is a prosthetic device. Now,
So that's different.
if you want to call it a cosmetic device, you're welcome to, but in our business, we'll call it a prosthetic, an ocular prosthetic. And that's what insurance companies pay for our prosthetics. They don't pay for the cosmetic. Even though the prosthetic device has lots of cosmetic value, it is considered a prosthetic because it's replacing part of the human anatomy.
Is some of it more genetic or is disease or?
The question is more genetic or more disease. When I started with the business, we saw probably more auto accidents, factories, things of that nature. We're becoming a more safer society. Your car now has good seatbelts. We're using seatbelts more often, airbags, things of that nature. So we're becoming more safer. And factories are definitely more safer. How many guys do you know that lost a finger? And you don't see that too often anymore. So we're becoming a safer society, but we're also living longer. And so we're seeing more age-related complications. There are some diseases. Retinoblastoma is one, which is a tumor of the eye, and it is usually hereditary. So if you can go back and find somebody in the family that's had it, and we have some of our families that it's affected both eyes, and maybe the sibling is one eye, and the other sibling is one eye. So yeah, it can be hereditary, but generally it is more disease, accidents, things of that nature as compared to hereditary. So does anybody in the room know of anybody that has a prosthetic eye? Good. Because I bet you do. Our best compliments come from no comments. So in other words, I don't want you to know it. And if you said, oh yeah, my neighbor does, and he's gone to you, I would say, I can't confirm or deny that I know your neighbor. In privacy, it's just one of those situations that I usually don't discuss a great deal. Just a quick overview, I didn't touch on it. At the time of the inoculation, or if the doctor is going to remove the eye is usually removed and then an implant is put in. So if you think about an implant, it's kind of like a ball, but it's behind the skin or the conjunctiva, and then we're fitting directly over top with that. So a lot of times folks will say, oh, well, yeah, Grandpa had an eye and he took it out and he played marbles with it. No, Grandpa didn't, he might have told you that. But if you think about it, it is more shell-shaped as compared to completely round. If you think about it round like a marble might be, think about it more like a ball bearing. It could turn upside down, it could turn sideways. And so the ball bearing, if you will, is behind the conch and we're tapping over top of that. So I brought a few along. If you want to touch or feel or anything like that, you're welcome to.
What got you into this field?
The question is, what got me into this field? Fame and fortune. Still waiting for both. It's a family business.
Oh.
And it's small town America, like we're currently in, you see a lot of families just pick up and keep going. So it's I started back in 1980,
Something.
80 something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1980. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. So,
Have the replacements always been shell shaped or were they round a long time?
you know, the question is, have they always been shell shaped or were they around a long time ago? Dr. Beals was the original physician that came up with the implantable implant. That was in 1850s. So originally it was a glass needle sphere, as they called it, glass hollow sphere that the doctor would implant directly into the orbit. Today, they're using more acrylic spheres. They're using some hydroxyapatite, which is coral. They're using some Medpor, which is a trade name for a plastic, but it's porous, so it's much lighter in weight. But also being that they're marketed, they're much higher in cost. Your insurance may or may not cover it. Most physicians today use a silicone ball or a hard acrylic ball. And so that's again implanted. And then they try to tie the muscles around it to help with motility. Again, if we're fitting directly over top of the natural globe, hopefully it's blind and not painful, and become a little bit more testicle or shrunken. And then again, if we think about a balloon and your eyeball like a balloon has lost some volume, we can cap directly over top of that. So it's a very, very thin shape then. But again, no surgery is required at that point.
Does the training start with an MD?
The training usually starts, the question is, does the training start with an MD? It usually starts with an ocularist. So I'm board certified, so if you want to be my intern, I could hire you today as an intern. Again, back in my day, it was an apprenticeship program we went through, and it was intern apprenticeship, same thing. I think it's just a nicer term. I just have to learn to embrace internship. To be a little bit more correct. Again, some of the things, if you're interested in plans, that's basically an orbital implant. So if you think about like a marble, it's really touch and feel.
Oh, it's very.
It's very light. So one of the other ones that they're working with now too is that one's Medpor. So it's plastic and that one is hydroxyapatite.
Wow.
So the larger of the two is actually sea coral. What they
It looks like a.
X coral. And so they're all
So what is this made of?
plastic.
Thank you.
Both of those implants technically there's if you go in one spot, you can come out somewhere else. And the big reason behind that is they're trying to eliminate any spots for infection to get down inside. So infection keep growing.
That's when you remove it, generally removing the front part.
Yeah, I did bring a couple prosthetics as well. That one is more for somebody that's been manipulated. So in other words, the eye's been completely taken out. We kind of see how big it is. And that's more for one that somebody's natural globe is still there.
Huh.
We do fabricate everything in the office. So I don't send anything out. So if you look at those, pretty much handmade. If you look at the veining structures in them, it's silk thread. It's the easiest thing I've ever used.
Now, both of those will fit over any of the three that you showed us.
The implants, well, the thinner one would be primarily for somebody that's had an eye that's just disfigured.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, like a giant contact lens. The other one is a bit more for the implants.
But it would fit over any of the three?
Sure. Yeah, and again, it's doctor's choice as far as using an implant. It's up to the doctor. I can certainly make recommendations, but yeah, if the physician decides to use the implant A, the silicone ball or the acrylic ball, Yeah, I tend to fit whatever walks in the door.
What did you say, the coral one? What's the purpose of the coral?
It's made from seed coral, but it's designed to be, the tissues can grow into it.
Okay.
And so it becomes more part of the body is the marketing. The other part, when they originally came out, it got FDA approval, I believe in '89. They came up with a pegging procedure so they could actually do a peg placement procedure. You're not supposed to call it drilling any longer. But drill directly into the implant, put a small peg, and then we could put a little socket in the back for the prosthetic valve for motility. Big concept, it looks great on paper. Big problem is that choose your surgeon wisely, because if they put that peg out here, it makes it real difficult for me to try to gain good motility. Most physicians in this area no longer use the pegging system. Like you get to California where it was originally marketed or invented, yeah, they still use a lot of the pegging there, but here in the Midwest, we like the implants because the tissues grow into it, but we don't like the pegging portion.
Do any of the three last longer than the other ones?
The implants, the question is, do the implants last longer? They're designed to be permanent. So in other words, the physician chooses and they go behind the conjunctiva. So technically there should be a permanent thing.
So you guys don't do that part.
We do not. That's up to the surgeon. Yeah, we're technicians, so we see the individual after the surgical intervention.
Can
The
you,
one that you're passing around, at one point at the top, it has like some marks up there.
Correct.
Does that indicate top or
The
bottom?
top, correct.
That's the
What
top.
we usually do when we fabricate a prosthetic, we'll put the individual's initials on,
Oh,
then a small code.
gotcha.
And the code right now would be 626. If anybody can guess, June of 26. So it's not a secret. But it kind of gives us an idea of when we fabricate the prosthetic as well.
Oh, cool.
can you recommend surgeons?
We can't recommend surgeons. It's a tightrope to walk, just for the simple reason, if you're a surgeon and I recommend her, I don't wanna get under your skin, yes. So, yes.
You have a lot of people will, donate their organs. Do you have a lot of the eyes donated or?
The question is, do we have a lot of eyes donated? So I'm assuming prosthetic eyes,
Yeah.
correct? We do have a few. I cannot use them here in the United States, so I won't use them. And the big reason is because of liability. You might have cooties. I don't have cooties too. Mrs. Jones. Most of the prosthetic eyes that get donated, I will give to an ocularist that's doing it out of country medical mission.
They look real.
And say,
Yeah.
you sign a waiver saying that you're taking them out of the country, I won't be responsible, the individual won't be responsible for yours.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Those give the time they're looking for dark brown eyes.
So the thinner ones are for over people's eyes.
Sometimes it can go directly over top of a natural glow. Other times, depending on what the surgeon, if they use a really large implant, then I would make a much thinner prosthetic. I guess what I've learned to say over the years is the foundation that I laid is the foundation that I work with. So in other words, if your doctor put a big implant in, then I make a very thin prosthetic. If the doctor put a small implant in, then I can make a larger prosthetic. If you've gone through a car accident and you've got a lot of trauma to the face, you could probably name the reason, and I could probably put an individual with them. I've had tires blow up for somebody's commercial tire, semi-tire, and yeah, it's not always so good.
Yeah. You have a young 2 or 3 year old and you do the implant. Does that grow with the child then?
Well, the implant, again, the physician will put in. Generally, they're going to Put in the largest implant they can, and then me as an ocularist, the question is a 2-year-old, how do we manage them? Then I try to make the prosthetics bigger and bigger and bigger, trying to keep up with the child's growth.
Okay.
Usually with kids, being a non-physician, I work with them on the floor. It looks kind of strange, but I'll put a blanket in, you've got hard to the floor, it's up a blanket down. I'll get on my knees, kid's head goes between my knees, and then I'm working upside down. Whoever's assisting then gets to watch their feet so they can't kick and watch their hands. I say I'm selfish. I don't want the kid coming up and pulling, and I don't want to be kicked in the face.
Yeah.
So mom or dad sits on their feet and holds their hands, and I do everything. Usually about a minute, 2 minutes, they're straight. So.
With the young child like that. Parent does the care of the eye, I assume. How does the child react to, I mean, the children that you've worked with? Do they want to touch it? Do they want to see what's going on? Do they feel what's going on, whatever?
Yeah, the question is, how do kids deal with the process?
Right.
And it varies. As you well know, everybody in here, if you're a parent, your parenting skills are a little bit different.
Mhm.
I've had parents come in and say, oh, I know it's gonna hurt. I'm sorry, it's really gonna hurt. Oh, gee, I'm really sorry. And then I've had other parents come in and say, oh, well, hey, look at this bottle of water, it's this cool. So the distraction, or hey, we're going to go get ice cream as soon as we're done. And so again, it's parenting skills. Again, I usually like to wait 6 to 8 weeks before I start. And then it's usually just a stem informer because the child's border out and eye developed. So it's think about a pencil eraser, very small, and then I have a stem on the front. And yes, I use hemostats and I gently place it. You force it in. And then about 6 weeks later, make a little bit bigger one, a little bit bigger. And usually 5 to 6 years of age, that's when I start the first prosthetic. So the first thing it's going to have any color in it. And again, it depends on kid to kid. I've had some kids come in and say, oh, here it is. And then hide under the chair. And again, I'm not a parent, but parenting skills. I can always tell parents that are involved. And the ones that are not so involved.
Children are all different.
Kids are different too.
But I had to wonder if you consider getting a certificate for an ice cream. Because my oldest daughter had teeth removed for orthodontics, and the dentist that removed them, I mean, she didn't ever see any kind of thing like that. He just says, well, unscrew it. I mean, I just didn't deal with it. She got a certificate for an ice cream puzzle made, and she thought that was the way to lose teeth.
The comment is that we give out certificates for good behavior. And generally, I don't, for the simple reason that I'm really concerned about. If I give an ice cream, my kid doesn't eat sugar. My kid doesn't eat peanut butter or whatever. So you have to be a little bit more careful in today's society.
With the eyes, do you do the cane?
We do.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 3 of us on staff that are licensed and we do everything from start to finish. So in a small office like ours, if you came in, Sue gives you the paperwork, I'll hand you the paperwork, you fill out, I'll take your insurance card. Well, Amy does a little bit of behind the scenes work, a lot more of insurance. But yeah, it's basically in the small town America, you kind of do it all.
I heard the term age related, that a lot of the older people that you're
Sure.
treating. What kind of diseases are the eyes leading to? Without scaring all of us, but.
Yeah. I don't see any excessive weight in here, but diabetes is always a big concern.
Okay.
So that is, it helps our business. Yeah, we, and diabetic doesn't always necessarily mean age. We've got some young kids that are diabetic and have lost eyes as well. And then I won't get into it all, but like failed cataracts, glaucoma. Yeah,
These things need to be
yeah,
watching.
yeah, seek medical attention. And even if you think you're worried, seek medical attention. Especially with your eyes.
Yeah.
Because guess what? We've got two.
That's not-
And if you're down one,
Yeah.
yeah, I really encourage folks and do safe things. Even if you're wearing safety glasses, when you're mowing or weed whipping or something of that nature, great. I don't think you'd be too protected.
Yeah.
Even our standard glasses like ours here in the United States do have meet minimum safety standards. They're not safety glasses. You could walk into a factory and use them, but at least they would provide some basic safety.
If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
Generally, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. You are exactly right.
'Cause I had safety glasses on and a wire flipped up over it and ended up in my eye, and it's like,
Yeah. Any long-term vision loss?
No.
Yeah, good.
luckily.
Yeah. What my more recent and interesting was that, her husband was mowing and picked up something and got her in the eye.
Ooh.
And, she went to have it looked at and they found a big tumor behind her eye,
Oh, wow.
which she wouldn't have known anything about. That's the
Yeah,
accident. Accident happened. So the what ifs of life sometimes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Anyways, I don't know what time it is, but it's
20 after,
20 after. I don't know what your normal lunch is and
anytime.
anytime, okay. So was it informative? Did you-
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So that's-
Thank you.
That's, hopefully you never see me professionally. But again, probably some of the folks that you have seen, guess what, we've got folks in Bowling Green with Bowling Green addresses. And Custer and Rudolph and.
Wow.
I'm glad you brought the eyes and around.
Oh,
So that we could actually feel.
sure, sure, yeah, yeah. I didn't need
Cause
to-
you wouldn't, I mean, you couldn't go up to somebody and say, could I hold your glass eye? It's so tacky that way, isn't it?
I've got a lot of other cool things in my little box I picked up, but a lot of it is I don't want to grocery out either. So when we're fabricating them, that's kind of what they look like
Oh, wow.
before they get all polished up.
Wow.
So it's a white base plastic first, and then we paint it and then put the clear cap on top of it. So that one's been clear capped, but not ground down and polished. So that. Sometimes people say, and that might be a question that you didn't ask, how much do you charge? Well, our total charge for. The prosthetic eye is $2,400, and if we're doing what we call scleral shell fitting over top of the natural globe, it's $2,600. I don't know other oculars pricing. I can defend our practice. I can't defend anybody else's. But sometimes I go, well, that's a lot of money, $2,400 for a little piece of plastic. Well, guess what? I'll go back. I've got a little souffle cup and I'll fill it with plastic and I'll give it to you. And say, there you go. You convert that into this and then we're good. But yeah, so that kind of gives them a nutshell. I mean, if you want to see how rough they are, that's. There's another one. This one, it's got a little crack in it. That's why it didn't.
Oh.
Why we didn't. I'll start one on this side. It's kind of the same. Thank you much. Thank you. I do have an impression tray, so that's what goes behind the lids. And then I remind folks, no needles,
We go.
but we do use a syringe to some fun with the ulcer in. That kind
Question,
of shows what the.
with people wearing contacts from early on, the way they do now. Are you noticing in older people that this is causing some problems and having to come to you instead?
Generally not.
Okay.
I think contacts are safer today. The big problem that we see are folks that have not taken their contacts out, having worn an extended wear, that's
Yeah.
a daily wear lens, and they've worn it for weeks or weeks or weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they could have somebody that was, oh no, she just bought it, oh. Somebody that was probably on meth,
Yeah.
thought her soft contact was still in, so she
Oh, no.
Dug around in there.
dug it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And, lost
You don't
it.
have to be on meth to do that.
Correct,
That's
but yeah,
It's hard to get on
Yeah.
sometimes.
and then
all because of dry.
one of our mental concerns are always up. Big,
Sure.
we've had self manipulations where folks have resized my sin, so I'm gonna take it out.
Wow.
Again, you kind of, yeah, I think she saw it.
Yeah, it goes that way.
Oh, that's the cracked one, yeah, that was the cracked one, that's all. Same thing you saw.
You mentioned before the video mentioned that sometimes you have to use lubrication. Are you running into any problems like people that have dry eyes in their other eye? Do they use the same kind of medication in the artificial one, or is there certain?
The question is drops for lubrication. Technically, you can use anything on the prostate that you can
After
use on your eye.
Okay, it doesn't have to be behind the eye.
No, it does not have to be
Okay,
high.
gotcha.
One of the drops that are specific for prosthetics is a silicone based oil, but it's only for the prosthetic side.
Oh.
So I really have to warn folks, it's only for your artificial eye. Don't be using it on your real eye. And if you think about like cooking oil, that's kind of what it's doing. And the there it is, an acrylic prosthetic plastic. I like to call it acrylic. It sounds
Better.
better, yeah. I'm not selling you a piece of plastic, I'm giving you. Yeah, but yeah, it bonds the plastic or the acrylic much better than artificial tears. Most artificial tears that we use on our real eyes or seeing eyes are water-based, and so they hit the surface and of the prosthetic. Being that it's plastic, they hit that surface and they're pretty much gone. But
Thank you.
so again, hopefully you never see me professionally. And hopefully it was enough entertainment or a learning.
Interesting.
Very good. So, and should I ask why there's no men in here?
No.
Because we're gonna live longer. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, Lord.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for repeating the questions always.
Oh, yeah.
Really appreciate that, really.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.